What is something that 95% of people can't seem to understand? Story 1. Lactose allergy. No cheese? Oh, lactose intolerant? Actually, I'm allergic. It's a bit of a difference. Oh yeah, my sister had that. Can't you just take a lactate pill? No, cheese could kill me. Oh, just cheese? Well, that's strange. No, cheese, butter, milk, cream, yogurt. Yogurt? That's not milk. On and on and on, until eventually I tell them eggs aren't dairy when they doubt my allergy, 'cause I eat. Worked at a preschool. A kid had a dairy allergy. One day my boss refused to serve them an egg because of said allergy. I asked why, and she said, well, they come from the same section at the store. But they come from birds. Cows don't lay eggs. But they're in the same section. I had this discussion with some coworkers the other day. I was telling them that no, eggs are definitely not dairy. They then used the, but they're in the dairy section in the supermarket argument. I had to point out that in England, and I believe the rest of Europe, eggs are not chilled, and you'll find eggs near the sugar or flour in the baking section of the shop. Story 2. Your life experience in something does not make you an expert on the field, especially those who rely on their age as evidence of their wisdom. I'm right about this. I'm 86 years old. And you've been an imbecile for all of those 86 years. I see you've met my coworker. It's infuriating because he's pretty much computer illiterate and our job relies on computers. But since he's old and a dude, customers assume all the time that his years of experience make him more knowledgeable than me, a youngish lady. Or they assume he's somehow my boss, even though we have identical job titles. No, Karen, he's literally only been working here a year and a half longer than me, and since he can't computer, I know the answers to your questions a lot better than he does. And I'm not exaggerating about him being old just because I'm bitter. He had already retired from one career when he started working here and has been here for 10 years now. Story 3. Parents. Do you want to come over for dinner? What time do you get out of work? Me. 5 p.m. At 5 p.m. Parents. Where are you? Me. ... Thank you. The real question should be, what time should I expect you? This sounds like my mother, all right. Hi, honey, where are you? Just getting off work. What's up? You're just now getting off work? It's so dark out. You might get mugged, assaulted, or red-rummed. Ma, call me when you get home, sweetie, so I know you're safe and sound. Love you. Story 4. That criticizing an opinion is not equivalent to a personal attack, and that while most, if not all, people should be respected, some opinions are not worth the same regard. Additionally, it's probably not a good idea to define yourself by the things you like. Someone telling you they don't like your favorite movie franchise or superhero or video game or something is not a personal attack on you unless you make it one. The trick is to keep your identity separate from your opinions. They are objects in a box you carry with you and should be easily replaceable if it turns out they're no good. If you think that the opinions in the box are who you are, then you'll cling to them despite any evidence to the contrary. Bottom line, if you want to always be right, you need to always be prepared to change your mind. C.G.P. Gray. Story 5. That my son is not adopted. I'm 100% white, that I know of, and was born and raised in Ireland. My fiancé is Pakistani. Our son is exactly the same color as my fiancé. He doesn't look biracial at all. He looks like a little Pakistani kid. He has very dark hair and eyes. He actually does look a lot like me in the face, but because he is so much darker than me, a lot of people don't notice the similarities. I've had to explain this to so many people. Most of the time, I get blank stares when I try to explain that he is my biological son. I don't understand why someone would not understand this. They don't understand why he doesn't look mixed, I guess. Try explaining recessive and dominant genes to them. If they don't get that, ask them if their eye color is exactly half their mom's eye color and half their dad's. Story 6. I work overnight from 10:30 p.m. until 7:30 a.m. No, I cannot get your kid off the bus at 3 p.m. No, I'm not being lazy. I'm asleep. Do I ask you to take my dog for a walk at 2 a.m.? No, let me sleep. My fiancé used to work nights at the airport from 11 to 8. The amount of people who didn't get the fact that he worked overnight was astounding. Yes, he does have a real job. The world doesn't stop after 5 p.m. when your job ends, Karen. What do you mean you're eating breakfast? It's 4 p.m. Mom, midnights. I just woke up 2 hours ago. I've had this job for 4 years. I went out to breakfast with a friend at 8 a.m. or so. I asked if they had mimosas, and my friend, scandalized, said, "It's 8 in the morning," which it's 6 p.m. Story 7. This one's for new parents. If you bring a baby to the movies, you're a butthole. One of the independent movie theaters in my city, Philadelphia, will do mom shows on Wednesday afternoons where moms are encouraged to come with their babies. I think it's a cool idea, and I will never attend. In my city, most theaters do this too. It's called Stars and Strollers, and it's at 11 a.m. They dim the lights, but leave a bit brighter than normal, turn the volume down a lot lower than your average movie, and play baby-friendly titles, of course. I wouldn't want to take a baby to a real movie, but this is a nice option to have. I'm a new parent, and I wouldn't dream of taking my son to a movie theater while he's still a baby, mostly because I wouldn't pay to go to a theater even if it was just myself nowadays, given the ease of access of movies at home, where you can have the luxury of pausing, snacking on whatever you like, and laying on a comfy couch in private. But the first couple months after he was born, we were lucky to watch 10 or 15 minutes of a movie at a time before needing to stop the movie and soothe him from crying. Much better now that he's a few months old, but still, I'm content to wait a few weeks for a newly released movie to be available to watch in the comfort of my own home. Story 8. Adding on to this, I'm currently reading Naked Statistics. There was an example where a beer company wanted to do live blind taste testing with a competitor for a Super Bowl commercial. Since they figured all beers at the time practically tasted the same, they knew it would be close to 50-50, so they exclusively picked the people who were avid drinkers of the competitor's beer, and when the results came in, it was dang close to 50-50. I forgot the exact numbers. Then they said approximately 50% of competitors' beer drinkers prefer our beer, which sounds much better than approximately 50% of drinkers of our beer prefer to drink competitors' beer, which would have resulted if they tested only drinkers of their beer. Story 9. Is your zone currently being called? If not, is your zone next, and you're worried about overhead space? If neither of those conditions are met, then for the love of God, stay in your seat at the gate. You're turning what could be quick loading of a plane into a total cluster where no one knows who is in line. My mama ran. Sorry about that. I tripped over my words and then I turned into a beach boy. My mom always gets in line at the very start of boarding, on the assumption the gate agent would rather wave her through than delay things even further by arguing. It works maybe 50% of the time. My mom is not a great person. Story 10. I push in carts at Target. No, the carts aren't trash cans. No, don't leave them in other stores' lots. No, don't leave them in the middle of the turn lane of the road next to the store. How did they even manage that? Mayonnaise. Grocery store near me has carts that lock their wheels after they've been taken so far from the store. Brilliant. Story 11. You're supposed to speed up to merge onto the freeway. Unless you live in Pittsburgh, where we put stop signs at the ends of our 30-foot on-ramps. Had the same thing in San Antonio about 20 years ago. I dang near rear-ended someone my first time driving there because I wasn't expecting that. There was a post a while ago about the left lane, and OP was shocked to learn that it wasn't a cruising lane. I was thinking, well, no duh, but then opened the comments to a bunch of Today I Learned comments. Right lane is for travel. The left lane is for passing cars on the right. Story 12. Statistics. You can be screwed by a 100-year event 2 years in a row. Along these lines, statistics and averages lie and can say whatever you want them to. For example, I could say the average person makes $55,000 per year. What I didn't tell you is that it was a sample size of 2 people, where one made $100,000 per year and one made $10K. Whenever someone uses the average to make a statement, always question the numbers behind the average. Sample size, were outliers excluded, etc. Story 13. That if I say I understand a behavior, an opinion, or where people come from, it doesn't mean that I agree with what they're doing or thinking. Right? Explaining something isn't the same as agreeing with it or justifying it. Exactly. And if you don't even understand the other side's point, Are you sure you're well informed enough to disagree? Oh my, yes, this. I understand why they're messed up. They were tortured and abused for 15 years. Huh, so you agree that he murdered 300 people and there's nothing wrong with it? Story 14. If you're consistently late to work, you should start leaving your house earlier. Consistently. I had an employee that was late every day. She lived a mile away. Like, how in the heck? I told her to leave 10 minutes earlier, and it blew her mind that I suggested that. The thought never crossed her mind. I did some work at a place where we sent a boat to pick you up. Missed the boat, missed the whole day. There was one guy who was always late and missed the boat and ran like an idiot. He lived across the road from the wharf. Story 15. Food related, that because something is bad for you in large quantities doesn't mean that small doses are a little less bad for you. In most cases, it's actually good for you. I recently heard a radio program by a vegan chef who had a long list of fruits and nuts she absolutely refused to touch, merely because it was possible for her to gain weight eating them. For the first time, it occurred to me that some vegans might be shoveling absurd amounts of vegetables into their mouths every hour of the day and night. Sounds like she has an eating disorder. Story 16. That if you don't use your turn signals, the odds of you causing an accident increase exponentially. I assume that they think that if they just make sure they have space, then it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, drivers very regularly underestimate how much space is between them and cars behind them. 95% of people don't understand exponentially. With only 2 data points, it's impossible to tell whether the growth is exponential. Story 17. Your tax refund is not some kind of lotto prize bestowed on you by Uncle Sam every year. It's your own goddamn money that you inadvertently turned into a zero-interest loan to the government. Yes, there are numerous exceptions to this, but it holds true for many who get a refund. Let me add to this. Getting pushed into a higher tax bracket doesn't mean you pay more taxes on all of your income. You just pay the higher rate on the amount that puts you in the higher bracket. It's called marginal income. Story 18. Recently, it seems people don't realize that their car's high beams are not meant to be used all the time and actually blind other drivers. I want to install a set of the brightest freaking lights money can buy to the back of my car, so I can turn them on when one of these absent-minded D-bags is behind me. I like your style. My idea was to put a reflector or a reflective sticker on the back of my car that points slightly up. It's for the stupid lifted trucks with super bright headlights. Story 19. The difference between being shy and being introverted. I don't like parties where I don't know anyone. I'm an introvert. You might be, but not being comfortable around people you don't know has nothing to do with whether you're introverted or extroverted. Zipper merging. I'm gonna let an extra couple people merge ahead of me because I'm so nice. Story 20. How to properly manage their money. Many people live beyond their means. Just because you have the money to buy something doesn't mean you should. It's been a slow, painful lesson. But what if I really want it? Hadn't thought of that. You should open a credit card with 30% APR and use it to buy what you want. It's basically free money. Story 21. That nobody gives a care about your kid. Also, I'm going to punch you if you tell me again that everything changes when you have kids, and or you can't possibly understand until you have kids. And the corollary to this, no, unemployed single brother-in-law, I do not welcome your parenting advice, given that you have failed in all of your life choices. Or your dog that you treat like a kid. Yeah, as I said earlier, I became a parent recently, and while I certainly have less free time than before, it's an exaggeration to say that absolutely everything changes. I'm still the same person at my core as I was before, and so is my wife. We just have to make some more room in our lives for all the new activities that come with raising a kid. It might seem like a drastic change at first, but if you're lucky, you'll fall into a rhythm and return to some normalcy. Story 22. In order to enter the bus or tram, you first need to make space for the people exiting. Elevator 2. It does baffle me that people forget that other people are solid. You simply can't walk through someone, so why try when I'm trying to get off the bloody train or tram? Where do you want my mass to go? Nice mass. Story 23. Freedom of speech is not absolute. You cannot shout fire in a crowded cinema hall and say that you are practicing your freedom of speech. Also, the First Amendment only prevents the government from infringing on your right to free speech. Free speech doesn't apply everywhere. If you call your boss an anal wart, you can still get fired. Story 24. You need more time to do everything when driving in the snow. More time to brake, more time to turn, more time to accelerate, more time to flip off stupid drivers, more time to let your car engine warm up, and so on. The smallest bit of snow or ice on the road can cause a big accident if you're not careful enough. Story 25. Kids cost a ton of money and are a ton of effort. Having one will probably ruin your relationship with your significant other and drain your finances, unless both are very secure. What people don't understand is that they probably shouldn't be having kids for reasons like repairing a relationship or something like that, because it never goes away. Story 26. That the white zone is for immediate loading and unloading of passengers only. There is no stopping in the red zone. Story 27. Depression, the causes and the cures. The cause is the brain. The cure is not yoga, not getting over it, not faking it till you make it, not putting on a happy face, not the fault of the depressed one. Something is not working right in the brain. There is no cure, only maintenance and long suffering. Story 28. Strangely, how electricity works. Could you expand about how it works more, please? I just realized I don't really know how it works, as I'm lying here charging my phone. Story 29. Having kids right out of high school doesn't make you a life expert. You might have been able to experience things people who don't have kids can't, but they also get to experience stuff that you can't either. Story 30. If you bought something that's normally $50 for $35, you didn't save $15, you lost $35. If you weren't planning to buy it in the first place, and it isn't something that you'll eventually use, like toilet paper and such, then you're wasting money. Story 31. That the phrase is, I couldn't care less, as opposed to I could care less. Also, it's a dog-eat-dog world, not a dog-eat-dog world. And for all intents and purposes, not for all intensive purposes. Story 32. Criticism is not an insult. How can we have a healthy relationship if I can't communicate without them thinking I'm being mean and insulting them? Infuriating. How the criticism is framed and delivered counts for a lot. Story 33. Being louder doesn't mean you are correct in an argument. You can't rebuttal if you can't be heard. This is unfortunately true if the argument is in a group. People talk loud when they want to sound smart, right? Correct! Story 34. If something has a probability of 90%, it still might not happen. That remaining 10% isn't, like, decorative, and vice versa. Story 35. That when you meet a gay couple, you shouldn't ask which one of you is the man. They both are. What if they're lesbians? Story 36. Antibiotics are not going to cure your virus. Maybe I just want to kill my digestive flora. Leaky gut is bad or something. Enjoy your C. diff. Story 37. The two-party system is an absolute divide-and-conquer technique, and no politician has your best interest in mind. Story 38. I see and hear frequently, why does company name do crappy anti-consumer tactic? The answer is money. Any business decision can likely be attributed to making money. Story 39. You can't change a fact because you have an opinion. Not with that opinion you can't. Story 40. Bigger is not always better. Counter-argument. Fat Albert is greater than regular Albert. Story 41. That they are not special or somehow more exceptional than anyone else. Story 42. A straw only has one hole, not two. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.